The internet was built on the promise of freedom, a place where anyone can publish anything, where information flows without limits, and where curiosity has no end. Most of what we see feels harmless: social media feeds, online shopping, and funny videos to pass the time. But the deeper you look, the stranger it gets. Hidden communities in pages that exist only to disturb, confuse, or exploit. And if you don't know how an iceberg works, it starts with the surface, tier 1, the lighter, more familiar things most people have heard of. But as we descend layer by layer, we move past the strange and unsettling and into places far darker, until finally, at the very bottom, we reach the truly horrifying. The kinds of websites that don't just disturb us, but force us to question our own sense of comfort, safety, and even morality. Today, we're exploring the disturbing website's Iceberg. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps more than you know. And a quick warning, this video contains disturbing content and is not for everyone. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. Let's begin. Tier 1, Superbad. Superbad is a web art installation created in 1997 by graphic designer Ben Benjamin. You navigate through the site by following 143 interlinked subprojects, and with a mix of old school coding, glitchy graphics, and odd layouts, it gives the impression of a forgotten relic in our modern era. As you explore the website, you'll encounter strange faces, abstract patterns, or fragments of text with no explanation, with the original purpose of the site never advertised on the web page itself. Stumbling across it accidentally must feel like entering a liminal, surreal dream, where every time you click, you end up further down the rabbit hole. One link called The Bees and Me leads you through a dialogue with a young boy in a beekeeper outfit. Click the page, and the bees fly away. Once they're gone, you're taken to one of two pages, both with inexplicable and unnerving pieces of sentences. Another, called Dialogue Box, has you clicking through an old school settings menu, then an abstract design, and finally, a triplet of grainy photos with the rolling caption, "Subject told not to enter store again." Though this is a fun website to explore and the only one on our list to be showcased at a museum, its design is still incredibly uncanny and honestly pretty creepy. Akinator. Akinator is a free mobile and web-based game built in the vein of 20 Questions. Think of it like a handheld guessing game brought to life on screen. The rules are simple. The player chooses a noun, a person, a location, or even a concept, and the genie, powered by a computer algorithm, will try to guess the thing you're thinking of, such as, is your character tall? Do they have a beard or mustache? Do they play for the NBA? And then it answers or guesses by saying, is your character James Harden? Question by question, the genie narrows it down until, like magic, it lands on the right answer. For many, like me, Akinator was a middle school staple, and since its release in 2007, it's been played more than 700 million times. But when you've got a game being played that often, things are bound to get a little weird. Akinator isn't just pulling guesses out of a hat, it's drawing from a massive database of user submissions, and when people feed it niche, strange, or darker characters, the questions can take a weird turn. Some of those questions cross into unsettling territory. Did your character drink paint? Is your character a victim of a natural disaster? Does your character eat humans? Did your character commit S-word? It's jarring when a silly little guessing game suddenly slips into some dark territory. And that's the thing about Akinator. The algorithm will stop at nothing to get the correct answer. even if it means venturing into disturbing, uncomfortable places. The developers have made tweaks, but on occasion, the raw, unfiltered nature of the game still peeks through, and it can be unsettling, to say the least. Time Cube. Time Cube was the personal webpage of Otis Eugene Ray, an electrician from Florida who, in 1997, began publishing his concept of the Time Cube principle. On the site, he claimed that modern science and education were lies and conspiracies, and that each day is actually 4 simultaneous days occurring in a cube. His writings were extremely long, repetitive, written in all caps or strange formatting, and mixed pseudoscience, numerology, and racism to bolster his attacks on religion and academia. I am wiser than any god or scientist, for I have squared the circle and cubed Earth's sphere. Thus, I have created 4 simultaneous separate 24-hour days within a 4-corner, as in a 4-corner classroom rotation of Earth. See for yourself the absolute proof. You were educated, stupid, and evil by evil educators. Do you enjoy being stupid? Time Cube ignorance is evil. Demand Time Cube debate in all academic institutions. You do not have the guts to seek Time Cube truth. Academia is a religious cult. Empowerment of self-word. Academia, word, rots, brain. The site was up until 2015, when Gene Ray passed away at age 87, a whopping 30 years after first publishing Time Cube. Though the website is no longer available, it is archived, so anyone curious enough to delve into 30 years of paranoid ramblings is free to do so. Though the mental illness clearly being a factor, the site is equally as depressing as it is disturbing. This Man. This Man is a site created in 2008 featuring the iconic identikit image, an unsettling black and white sketch-style drawing of a smiling man with a bald head and a unibrow. The page features a story about a psychiatrist in New York who, in January 2006, encountered a patient suffering from a recurring dream featuring a man whose face she didn't know. Soon, other patients also recognized the drawing as someone who appeared in their dreams. The psychiatrist circulated the portrait, and more dreamers from cities across the globe began identifying the same face, referred to simply as This Man. The site was created to connect dreamers who alleged they had seen him too, and discover the truth about the mysterious, otherworldly figure. The site itself proposed many theories as to why he might appear, citing Jungian psychology, religion, or something called daytime recognition, where we transpose the people we see every day, often random pedestrians, into our dreamscapes. The disturbing image has gone on living in popular media, serving as inspiration for memes, manga, and even the X-Files. Tier 2. Fugly. Launched in the late 1990s, Fugly was an early link sharing community. Before the dawn of social media, users submitted photos, videos, and oddities from across the newly integrated World Wide Web. Some of it was lighthearted, crude jokes, silly images, and early memes. Others depicted car crashes or natural disasters. In my research, I came across a subsection called Fugly Victims, where moderators would chat with users in an attempt to catch them in some funny, embarrassing, or illegal predicaments. And this page is still available to access. In one case, the moderators bullied a supposed Arab woman, making racist jokes about plane crashes and terrorist attacks. In another case, a user named BossFiCap2000 was caught soliciting a fake young girl, and the subsequent post reads as follow. Sometimes all it takes to get a really good victim is to just make up a profile of a pretty young girl. Sit in a chat room and wait. Sooner or later, the perverts out there are going to find you, and when they do, they're going to want to tell you in great detail how they'd like to have relations with you, whether you want to hear it or not. Katrina the Great is actually one of us here at Fugly. It's really Martin. Martin sometimes likes to pose as an innocent young girl in chat rooms, but that's a whole other story. The not so innocent victim in all of this is Bossfi Cap 2000. Here's what happened. The post contains a link to the chat log where he attempted to coerce the innocent girl, though they never exposed his actual identity. This depravity and unpredictability became the site's signature. Unlike what we see now with social media, Fugly didn't draw a line between funny and disturbing. It was shock media. For many who came across the site, Fugly became an introduction to a darker side of the internet, a gateway to sites like Rotten or Ogrish, in an era before widespread moderation. Fugly thrived in that Wild West atmosphere, unfiltered, unregulated, and unpredictable. Though users have long since migrated away from the site, it still exists as a domain. In my opinion, Fugly reflects the early web at its most chaotic, where memes, shock imagery, and anonymous toxicity were the funniest things on the internet. And I think what's really disturbing is that, well, not very much has changed since Fugly. Texas Death Row Resource. In Texas, the state with the highest number of executions in the United States, capital punishment remains an active and controversial practice. Each execution is carefully documented, including the inmate's final statement and the last meal. These final moments offer a stark, unsettling glimpse into the reality of capital punishment. Human beings commit heinous crimes, but they are still human beings. This becomes a serious moral quandary for many when the humanity of the executed is barefaced and fully accessible. On the Texas government website, the public can view final statements from former death row inmates, their crimes, their victims, the date they died, and a final right. At the time of this video's publication, the latest execution published on the website is of a man named Matthew Johnson, who, at 38, walked into a gas station with a bottle of bleach and lit the attendant, 76-year-old Nancy Harris, on fire. The attendant later died in a hospital. A horrible, unforgivable crime. His final statement is as follows. First and foremost, I would like to give all praises to God. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here on this earth. I thank him for the life he has given to me. To Mrs. Harris's family, as I look at each and every one of you, I see her on that day. I just please ask for y'all's forgiveness. I never meant to hurt her. I pray that she's the first person that I see when I open my eyes, and I will spend eternity with her. To my spiritual advisors, I love y'all. Thank you. To all the administration at the Pulsunky unit for helping me and treating me like a man and treating me with fairness and giving me the opportunity to get in right standings with my Lord. To my beautiful wife, I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry for giving up. I'm sorry for quitting. I ask that you forgive me as well. To our beautiful daughters that you bore. Then he lists his daughters. I'm not going to expose their names. But then he goes on to say, I ask that you forgive me for giving up on y'all and walking away. Just know that it's nothing that y'all did. I made wrong choices. I've made wrong decisions. And now I pay the consequences. For all my brothers back on the row, I love y'all, man. Y'all continue on. Jesus is the way, brothers. He is the only way. Thank you to my field ministers, my spiritual advisors, and my mentors. Thank you, brothers, for sitting with me, praying with me. Just know, man, You know who I'm talking to. It wasn't your fault. If it wasn't from you, I would have gotten it from somewhere. I thank the Lord for the last 13 years. He has given me the opportunity to ask for his forgiveness, and I thank him for his redemption. Welcome, my Father. Thank each and every one of you for being here. I'm done, Warden. With 595 recorded cases available on the Texas website, it serves as a terrible reminder of life and how fragile it really is. The Silk Road. The Silk Road was the internet's first modern dark net marketplace, a hidden website where people could buy and sell drugs and other illegal goods using Bitcoin. It was created in 2011 by Ross Ulbricht, a young man from Texas with a background in physics and libertarian economics, operating under the pseudonym Dread Pirate Roberts. Ulbricht's vision was to build a free market beyond government control, building his website on Tor, an untraceable online browser, and using Bitcoin for transactions, a non-governmental online currency. By combining anonymity with customer reviews, an escrow system, and reliable vendors, it became known as the Amazon of drugs. Everything from weed, LSD, MDMA, prescription pills, and the Big H was available for purchase. By 2013, the site had attracted nearly 1 million users and processed hundreds of millions of dollars in sales, many of whom were young adults, underage, in college, or in high school. The FBI, DEA, Secret Service, and the IRS all launched investigations into the online marketplace. Agents infiltrated the Silk Road, made undercover purchases, and traced digital breadcrumbs back to Ulbricht, who, despite his efforts to remain anonymous, made too many mistakes. On October 1st, 2013, Ross was arrested in a San Francisco public library while logged into Silk Road's administrator account. The FBI seized the servers and confiscated more than 144,000 bitcoins, worth billions of dollars at today's value. But that wasn't the end for the Silk Road. Within weeks of closing, copycat markets appeared, including Silk Road 2, Alpha Bay, and Dream Market. Law enforcement has shut down many, but new ones continue to emerge, keeping the dark net substance trade alive to this day. And because of a presidential pardon by Donald Trump, the Dread Pirate Roberts is walking free at this very moment. The man who single-handedly created the first online criminal drug empire is out there, somewhere, safe from consequences. Alt S-word Holiday. Alt S-word Holiday began on the now-defunct Usenet, which gained popularity in the 1980s as a place to share information online. The group started as a safe place to discuss S-word, partially academic, partially communal. The name derives from the grim statistic that S-word rates rise during holiday seasons, but that quickly changed. Unlike prevention forums, Alt S-word Holiday didn't try to steer people away from their dark thoughts. It called itself pro-choice, and the culture reflected that. Alt S-word Holiday became both a refuge for the people dealing with S-word thoughts and a lightning rod for criticism. Trolls entered, encouraging people to do the deed, and the line between support and harm blurred beyond recognition. By the late 90s and early 2000s, the group was infamous. Media stories tied Alt S-word Holiday to real deaths. One user, Susie Gonzalez, committed S-word in 2003 after relaying her thoughts and plans on the website, which sparked a nationwide cry for regulation. Law enforcement and advocacy groups condemned the site for being dangerous and predatory. Members themselves were divided. Some saw it as a rare, uncensored sanctuary for honesty about despair, while others believed it encouraged S-word ideation. Over time, the internet shifted toward web forums and social media, and the traffic dwindled. Alt S-word holiday remains one of the earliest examples of how online communities can blur freedom of speech with real-world consequences, and how digital safe spaces can sometimes do more harm than good. And I'm sorry I need to censor the word S-word, or I just had to censor it. I have to for YouTube's sake, so sorry about that. I'm not trying to be disrespectful in any way. I just have to do that for you guys to even see this video. Tier 3, LiveLeak. LiveLeak was launched in 2006 as a video sharing website created by the same team behind Ogrish, a death site. LiveLeak was intended to be a more news-oriented platform focusing on free speech and allowing users to upload videos that wouldn't otherwise be available to the public, considering their more sensitive nature. Over time, LiveLeak developed a reputation as a place to see the unfiltered reality of world events. Unlike YouTube, which enforced strict content policies and still does, LiveLeak positioned itself as a free speech alternative that didn't shy away from difficult or controversial material. This meant the platform became home to videos ranging from raw combat footage in Iraq and Syria to political protests to shocking accidents that traditional media would not air. The site was no stranger to controversy. It hosted videos that drew global attention, such as extremist propaganda and execution footage, which raised the question, is LiveLeak promoting violent groups like terrorists? While moderators did remove certain uploads, the site's willingness to let other graphic or politically sensitive material remain online kept it under constant scrutiny. LiveLeak also played a role in exposing government injustices. It was a whistleblower hotbed. Clips of police misconduct, corruption, and government violence circulated widely throughout the site, giving them a space where other sites would have buried them. Then there's the effect on curious kids and teenagers who would inevitably stumble across the site. And I do have a few examples of the, type of content that's on there, but frankly, it's just too disturbing to even begin to describe on here. I mean, just think of the worst thing humanity could do, and it's on there. And the sad fact is, many kids were exposed to this kind of media while LiveLeak was up and running. I know many of them personally. Execution videos, corpses, and drive-by shootings were common and prevalent. After 15 years online, LiveLeak shut down in May 2021. Founder Hayden Hewitt explained that it was time to move on, and the domain began redirecting to a new, lighter video platform called Item Fix, which avoided graphic or violent content. For many, the closure marked the end of an era for some. The disappearance of one of the internet's rawest and most controversial archives of real-world events. One part news, one part depravity, and personally, I'm glad it's gone. Heaven's Gate. Heaven's Gate was a cult founded in the 1970s, founded by leaders Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles. Applewhite had a nickname called Doe, and Nettles was called T. The group was a blend of New Age spirituality mixed with Christianity and UFO conspiracy theories. Their ultimate goal was to follow the passing Hale-Bopp comet, which would pass in 1997, and transcend their human bodies. The site they had looks like a time capsule from the late 1990s. A black background teeming with stars, blue hyperlinks, blocks of text written in Applewhite's distinctive voice. It feels frozen in time, which it is. The cult leader, Doe, posted a series of transcribed videos that described the Heaven's Gate belief system and the rush to join before 1997, when the Hale-Bopp comet would pass. And here is an excerpt from the introductory video transcript. The sole task that was given to this member from the Kingdom of Heaven was to offer the way leading to membership into the Kingdom of Heaven to those who recognized him, for he and chose to follow him. The kingdom of heaven is at hand, meant, since I am here and I am from that kingdom, if you leave everything of this world and follow me, I can take you into my Father's kingdom. Only those individuals who had received a deposit containing a soul's beginning had the capacity to believe or recognize the kingdom of heaven's representative. They could get to his Father only through total reliance upon him. He later sent his students out with the good news of the kingdom of heaven is at hand, and his followers could then help gather the flock so that the shepherd might teach others what was required to them to enter his Father's house. His Father's kingdom, the kingdom of heaven, in the literal and physical heavens, certainly not among humans on earth. Leaving behind this world included family, sensuality, selfish desires, your human mind, and even your human body, if it be required of you. All mammalian ways, thinking, and behavior, since he had been through this metamorphic transition himself from human to level above human, under the guidance of his Father. He was qualified to take others through that same discipline and transition. Remember, the one who incarnated in Jesus was sent for one purpose only, to say, if you want to go to heaven, I can take you through that gate. It requires everything of you. In March of 1997, the group carried out one of the largest mass S-words in US history. 39 members, including Applewhite, were found dead in a mansion in Rancho Santa Fe, California. They had ingested a lethal cocktail of some sort of, prescription drug and vodka. They laid down wearing identical black clothing, armbands reading Heaven's Gate Away Team, and brand new Nike Decade sneakers. Decades later, the cult's website remains active, maintained by two surviving members who continue to spread Applewhite's quote-unquote teachings. To date, the site stands as a strange digital relic, part warning, part invitation, a reminder of how belief, when untethered, can lead people past the stars and straight to an early grave. Tier 4. Columbine fan sites. This next entry isn't exactly a website, but an entire subculture that permeates through multiple social media platforms. In 2009, author Dave Cullen published a book about the Columbine High School massacre, which was perpetrated by two young men, Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris. In 1999, the pair began a meticulously planned attack that left 13 people dead and more than 20 others wounded before the pair committed S-word. For nearly an hour, chaos gripped the building and the school as terrified students hid in classrooms, closets, and under tables, while police surrounded the campus. The scale of the violence shocked the nation and the world, leaving behind not only grieving families and a scarred community, but also a cultural aftershock. In his book titled Columbine, Dave Cullen describes an unexpected consequence of the massacre: the emergence of widespread support for the killers. Known as the Columbiners, or the TCC, which stands for the True Crime Community. These are people who treat Klebold and Harris like tragic anti-heroes. They create fan art, write fan fiction, and share photos of the killers as if they were celebrities. I mean, it's just so disgusting. These fan sites and subcultures thrive on Tumblr. Most of the public groups have been disbanded on Discord and Reddit, but on Tumblr, the Columbiner community is alive and thriving. Here is one of the many disturbing posts I've found. I miss Dylan so much. He's the sunshine of my day. He always makes my day better when I look at him, especially when he's smiling. I love his smile. I love seeing him happy and laughing. He deserves the world he never got. I've never felt this way for anyone. Every day I wonder if I'll ever love anyone as much as I love Dylan. I wish we could grow old together. and sit by each other's side. I would do anything to feel his skin against mine, whether we're holding hands and cuddling. Every day I think about him. He never leaves my head. He deserved to be loved. I really wish I could have been alive back then, but no. He has been dead for 26 years. It's just not fair. I've cried for this man so many times. I just want to hold him. But I was too late. I wish I was alive back then for him. I don't care if about being 43. It would be worth it. I talk about him so much, pretty much the whole school knows about how I feel about him. Hell, I even got in trouble for talking about him. But I don't care. I keep talking about him anyways. My friends at school are getting sick of me. I'm 99% sure I'm known as the Dylan girl. I make sure to bring him up in conversation, and I'll walk up to my classmate and say, "Have I shown you Dylan yet?" And they'll be weirded out or get annoyed. Honestly, I don't blame them. It is quite odd to feel such a way for a murderer, but alas, I cannot help myself. I mean, who wouldn't? Look at him. He has such beautiful golden wavy hair, beautiful eyes, and that wonderful smile. Don't even get me started on his nose. People always make fun of me about it, but his nose is such an underrated gem. His nose makes him unique, and that just appeals to me. I can just imagine him myself giving him a simple bracelet, and no matter what, he would always wear it. That makes me very happy. Well, I think I got my point across. I'm going to end this here, so I still have stuff to rant about, LOL. And I don't know if this is a troll, but sadly, I don't think so, because there's a huge community of people just like this. I mean, just disgusting. Needless to say, this level of obsession is just massively disturbing. But it doesn't stop there. This sentiment, as it turns out, is not very niche. People have been obsessing over the Columbine massacre since 1999, and copycat killers have popped up all across the nation and across the world. People planning to, or actually committing, other shootings. According to Dave Cullen, the Russian government published a report that estimates more than 70,000 Columbiners worldwide. Here, he posts a graphic to Twitter of other mass shooters inspired by Columbine. He writes, "This ghastly graphic drove me back. Columbine inspired every gunman on it, and they've spread as far as Siberia. Worst cultural export ever. The preface is highly personal, and I cried when I wrote it." Columbine wasn't just a tragedy. It became a blueprint, spawning an online cult that refuses to die. Decades later, the Columbine High School massacre still leaves its mark on social media, and whatever happens, I hope one day the obsession will fade, and the killers can rest in obscurity. And just for more info about you guys, I mean, I just feel super passionate about this one because I grew up in Colorado, and if you don't know, Columbine happened in Colorado. I mean, it's just disgusting that people obsess over these monsters. It really is disgusting to the nth degree, and I don't know. It's so jaw-dropping how there's 70,000 Columbiners worldwide. There's that many. It truly is disturbing. It truly is horrific, and it's just horrible. On to the next one. Nambla. The Stonewall riots were a series of protests held in New York City after the police accosted and assaulted gay men and women at local nightclubs, frequently raiding them and injuring civilians. This conflict spurred modern activism of the American gay rights movement, which called for legal acceptance, equality, and equal protections for sexualities other than heterosexual. One of the arguments of the movement was that, in the privacy of one's home and in the eyes of the law, two consenting adults should be able to do what they please. so long as no harm came to either party and it did not affect others. Today, gay marriage is legal nationwide in the US, and socially, it has become much more accepted. But the fight for gay rights had an unintended consequence, and one group crawled out from the dark underbelly of the movement, slowing its progress for decades to come. A group so disgusting and morally apprehensible, I struggled to see how it lived on for over 30 years. Founded in 1978, NAMBLA, or the North America Man/Boy Love Association, tacked itself onto the movement. Created by Dave Thorstad and a small group of quote-unquote activists, NAMBLA called for legalization of so-called man-boy love, meaning the lowering or removal of age of consent laws. Just disgusting group. They advocated for a different kind of freedom, where a grown man would have the same freedom to sleep with a young boy. During and after the HIV epidemic, NAMBLA maintained an active presence. In 1993, NAMBLA joined the International Lesbian and Gay Association, sparking outrage within the broader LGBTQ+ community, who were disgusted at their sudden association with NAMBLA. Its membership was so widely unaccepted, the status of the ILGA, which is the Lesbian and Gay Association, was suspended by the United Nations. The controversy highlighted the deep divide between mainstream LGBTQ+ organizations and radical fringe groups like NAMBLA, who preyed on the forward momentum of righteous movements. By 1994, the pressure was too great. NAMBLA was expelled from ILGA, solidifying its status as a pariah, even among other minority organizations. Though the original NAMBLA website doesn't exist anymore, there is another that exists by the organization NAMBLA. Here you can see tributes to famous members like famous American poet and NAMBLA member Allen Ginsberg. Elsewhere on the site, you can find the history of NAMBLA, as well as discussions of the legal system, goals, personal experiences, and how to participate. In one section of the website called Stories of Man-Boy Love, there are several historic stories of, disgusting relationships and personal accounts by people about their encounters with much older men. And I found a few stories on there, and they are so disgusting I can't read them on YouTube. But just trust me, whatever you think the stories are about, that's on there. I mean, it is so gross, so disgusting, and just, I can't read it on YouTube, but it is just horrific. And after decades of backlash, legal pressure, and cultural condemnation, NAMBLA became less active, and by the early 2000s was nearly extinct, thank God. Today, NAMBLA does exist, but only in scattered online remnants, with no known public events or active membership. Thankfully, it looks like NAMBLA will not be making a comeback anytime soon, and let's hope it stays that way. Tier 5. No Limits Fun. No Limits Fun was a website created by the infamous Peter Scully, published on Tor. This website, however, catered to an even more secretive, clandestine audience of private members across the world, and these people would pay high sums of money to see Peter Scully's content. No Limits Fun was host to some of the most disgusting, disturbing, gut-wrenching videos ever created. Videos that victimized innocent children. There are 7 children that we know of, but the full breadth of Peter Scully and the No Limits Fun website is unknown. Peter Scully was originally investigated in Australia for cheese pizza and trafficking, but he fled to the Philippines shortly before being arrested to continue creating content. One video, which leaked from his website onto the surface web, was called Daisy's Destruction, a 4-part film split into 15-minute segments. This video set off a worldwide manhunt for Peter Scully, and its remnants remain on the internet to this day. I will not go into detail describing the video because number one, it's illegal, and number two, it's disgusting from all the accounts I've seen online. It is just truly disturbing. Peter Scully charged $10,000 for each 15-minute segment, and many people were buying it. So he made money off of this horrific video. The investigation into No Limits Fund began after authorities in the Netherlands discovered evidence of the video circulating on the surface web. As investigators pieced together the network, it became clear that the operation was based in the Philippines. Surveillance and intelligence confirmed that Scully was living in Cebu City, where he continued to make this horrific content. In February 2015, after years of meticulous coordination, authorities moved in. Australian federal police, in cooperation with Interpol and Philippine law enforcement, raided Scully's properties. He was arrested without incident on February 20th. The raid not only freed evidence crucial to prosecuting Scully, but also marked the end of one of the most notorious dark web exploitation operations ever uncovered. Scully was later convicted on multiple counts of abuse, kidnapping, and murder, and sentenced to life imprisonment. However, the videos he made are still out there. One website called Hurt to the Core was responsible for hosting some of his videos in the 2000s, as well as other exploitation videos. Its owner, Matthew David Graham, was arrested and convicted of distributing the videos. Today, it is almost impossible to find the video online, and those who somehow manage to find it are often investigated and prosecuted. No Limits Fun is gone from the internet, but the horror of what occurred there and the suffering he caused will never be forgotten. In my opinion, this is one of the most disgusting human beings to exist in recent history, and I hope his justice is fit for his crimes. And alright guys, that wraps up the disturbing website's Iceberg, and this was truly one of the most disturbing videos I've ever made. I hope you enjoyed nonetheless, thought it was informational and educational. I hope you learned something, and just be safe out there, guys. There's a lot of disgusting people out there. Not everyone's bad, but there are bad people. So just be careful. And thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. It means the world. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps more than you know. This is Snook, and I'll see you next time. Bye.